Ed Humphreys is one of those guys. Now, he is not real well known in Idaho. He is the youngest gubernatorial candidate in the country. I think he's 30, and their primary is May 17th. One thing I found out that made me say, I think I want to talk about this, talk to this guy. He did his thesis on modern monetary theory. So here's a guy who maybe the governor could have called and probably would have given him a better idea. Ed Humphreys, welcome to the program.
Glenn, thank you for having me on. And probably part of the reason the governor wouldn't call me to get my input is because I'm not a corporate lobbyist. These career politicians, they rely so heavily on these special interest groups to provide them with data that they use to make decisions with. And the governor here in Idaho, my critique of him would be he believes all the data that these lobbyists, that these banking special interest groups provide him. He thinks it's as true as day. And I think we need people in the Capitol asking a lot more questions. But I'll take issue with one thing you said, Glenn. You said not well known. I will remind you, I came into contact with you because of everyday Idahoans, that are connected with you. I never got connected with you through a media group or anything else.
No, that's true. No, you in least in my county, there were a lot of people that knew you, and I also was with Chuck Norris, and a friend came up and from Idaho and said, "Hey, have you heard about this guy?" And I said, "Yeah." So somebody else was talking to me. So you are making waves, but you're not a politician.
No, and the reason why this race is so interesting, I think you mentioned it, called it perfectly. I mean, I'm the youngest gubernatorial candidate in America today, and think of that, to have a constitutional conservative be the youngest candidate in America making waves. It's a really powerful dichotomy when you consider the fact that we have Joe Biden, who can't make it up a flight of stairs, for crying out loud, let alone even be on a live program without somebody there to protect him from tripping over his own feet. And now we have ruby red states, well, once I'll say ruby red states like Idaho, putting up a new generation to bring this fight forward. And we have to do that, Glenn. I mean, this ESG and this global socialist push coming out of groups like the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. I mean, I'm waiting for that guy. He's like a supervillain from every Indiana Jones flick I've ever seen. I'm waiting for him to don his armband any second now.
Yeah. So tell me why you would be qualified to be the governor of a state like Idaho, which is very diverse. You've got people moving into the capital that are from California, very, very liberal. And then you have people who are farmers, and they don't, you don't have the population when you have, big farms. And those people feel left out about a lot of stuff. How are you going to bridge that, and what makes you different?
Well, I'm a blue-collar guy at heart. I used to drill for oil as a roughneck on drilling rigs. I'm one of the few people you'll meet who never finished the 8th grade. Later in life went on to get a master's in finance. So I'm a financial advisor by trade. But I would say in politics, if you want the truth, you have to follow the money. And that's what I've done. And when you follow the money, you figure out very quickly what's going on. And when we change the way that we fund government, we will change the government itself. I think it's very powerful to have a finance guy at the top of the ticket, particularly in a state like Idaho, where the governor has immense authority over the budget and the ways in which all the agencies and state government are run. We're going to make changes to the way that we fund government. The biggest thing of all, and this is what's happening in states across this country, and Ron DeSantis understands it better than anybody, we are funding our own destruction. We pay our tax dollars, and then our elected officials, Republican and Democrat alike, Republicans are the worst with this, though. This is how we lost Colorado. They then turn that money over, our tax dollars, to private organizations that promote anti-American causes. And Idaho's doing that. We are rapidly losing our heritage, our identity. This state I consider to be one of the last foxholes for the American dream today in this country. We need bold fighters who are going to stand up, who are going to follow the money, get to the bottom of things, reveal it for what it is, and make big changes. And my plan does just that.
So how are you going to bridge, excuse me, how are you going to bridge the gap between people who are fed up with the government, don't really trust the government, and want to throw all the bums out? How are you going to bridge the gap between that and the normal people that say, I'm sick of this as well, but I want to make sure that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater? There are a lot of good Republicans. I'm sure there's some good Democrats. I only leave them out because I don't know them. But I know there's some good Republicans there that want to fight the system, but not destroy the system. How do you bridge that gap so you've got a coalition of people that can work together?
We have to have a bold vision to rally around, and that's what's been missing for some time. My vision is one that inspires people, and because what we're doing is we're taking power from these subject matter experts, these corporate experts, these government experts that want to make decisions for us in our lives, and we're giving it to people so that they can reach for the heights of their own potential. And school choice is a powerful way where you can disrupt that institution, education, but people can rally around these ideas because they're ready for something new. And it doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of folks that would like to see something revolutionary in America today, something innovative and unique. And that is what I've set out to do. But more important than anything else, if you want to bring positive change, you have to create a movement. You have to create a mandate. And when you talk about bridging the gap, nothing does that better than connecting with people. So I travel this state, the whole state, once every 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm connecting with everyday Idahoans and building those relationships and hearing what they're dealing with and what keeps them up at night. Those kind of relationships I find more valuable than with, corporate America through their lobbies and the like. So, yes, I'm not going to get along with everyone, Glenn, because, I'm a disruptor.
So tell me what the vision is. What are the people in Idaho mostly concerned about, and what is your vision?
The biggest thing that's happening in this state right now, we have a system of government, an old idea that has existed in the Republican Party for too long, where the government exists to benefit the politically connected. That's what we got to turn around. I'll give you a perfect example of this. But think of this. This is Idaho. Our Republican governor just cut a $50 million tax deal to give tax breaks to Facebook, so that they would build a facility here, and we're all supposed to clap because it's going to create 100 new jobs. And I imagine they'll find, they'll bring here to Idaho 100, Berkeley educated leftists, which will just make our problems even worse. That kind of thinking is what has to be expunged. And Idahoans, particularly when we're an ag state, we deal with drought, and now we have this server farm. Facebook's bringing in 170 million gallons of water a year. People see that, and it bothers them. But more than that, it's a bigger story about what these multinational corporations, how they're exercising their complete domination over our lives, over the government. And that is exactly the fight that I want to bring to the forefront. We need to have an environment that is business friendly to small and medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs. But when it comes to these multinational corporations that cut deals with, Chinese Communist Party-owned companies in other parts of the world to get their capital and bring those insane policies into America, we got to have governors all across this country that call it for what it is, and have a plan to tackle those problems. And so when it comes to these corporations, in Idaho, the governor is empowered to investigate any corporation in the state of Idaho. So since Facebook decided to move a facility here, Glenn, I tell you, we're going to have some fun. We're going to get to the truth. If I were elected governor, I would investigate Facebook for their shadow banning, for defrauding advertisers about impressions and reach and the like. Let's let the truth have its day.
Last question. How's your soul?
How's my soul? Probably the most important question. One of the books that you wrote, Glenn, that I've read and I really enjoyed, was Being George Washington. And one of the things that I've learned is, strength rejoices in the challenge. And this is a time where nothing seems real in the world anymore. Everything's manufactured. It's all engineered. And it's really on my heart to disrupt that. My family, they fled from communism in Eastern Europe and came to this country so they could make decisions for themselves. And I'm watching as America starts to adopt those same ideas that destroyed countless countries across the world. I guess what's on my heart, what I would describe is I want to win that fight. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm taking on the political machine. And because I come armed with the truth, they try to silence me. Even here in this state, the sitting governor and the sitting lieutenant governor, who are my opponents in this race, they have, for the first time since debates have ever been hosted in the state, for the first time, they have refused to debate me. Think of that. There's not going to be debates in Idaho this year because they don't want to have these tough conversations. That's a dangerous precedent.
Ed Humphreys, you can find his website, edforidaho.com. If he sounds like your guy, you've got to find somebody that you think is going to do the right thing for your family and your state. This is the firewall. If you consider Ed, find out more about him, edforidaho.com. Ed, thank you very much.